a series of emails that I found even more disturbing than that. And that is pages 48 and 48, 49, and 50. But here's what it is on page 48, Enfield 2004. It's an email from Councilman Santanella dated May 9th, 2022 to the town manager, and says, regarding out-of-state license plates. Ellen, one thing I forgot to mention this week, and I took a ride around District 2. He's a District 2 council person, for those who don't know it. I took a ride around District 2 and started counting cars with out-of-state registrations. I stopped counting at 235. Most of the vehicles were in some larger apartment buildings, like Bigelow, but many were in people's driveways. This is a huge issue for the town. This is additional tax revenue that is owed to us. What are we doing about it? Then he gives her a heads up he's going to be at the meeting, but it's like he's a District 2 representative for people in District 2. He's riding around almost like he's stalking out-of-state plates that may be visiting. I mean, we're a border town. It's Massachusetts. You have friends, you have relatives that come down. Are you now going to get billed for your friends and relatives that come down for their cars? You think not? Listen up. So then Ellen sends it off to Helms because she wants him to do something about this. So then the next thing we have is, it's Santanella's pet project apparently is this. So now Todd Helms sending, whoops.
Art?
I feel like you're like one of my kids.
So Todd Helms sends a memo to Mario in response to this license plate out-of-state cars. So the part that's the most important is he created a spreadsheet for him in terms of unregistered motor vehicles. And here's what he says. This increase is because we have greater diligence reviewing CITUS accounts. The biggest increase was the discovery of around 120 commercial trailers that have been registered in Maine. They were for several companies, but all had the same Enfield mailing address. In reality, they're all owned by the same entity, just with different business names. I added these going back 3 years to the grand list. The BAA, however, removed all of them. I had several communications and emails with representatives of the company. They refused to tell me where their trailers were or where they were taxed. All he would say is Enfield's not the place where they are most frequently leave from or return to. It was obvious they knew the statute regarding this. So they knew what the law is. They didn't have to tell them. And they're not trailers that come here or stay here or leave here or go from here. So he's mad at us because there's 120 trailers registered in Maine that he's not able to get tax money on for the town of Enfield. So then we find out who the trailers are belong to. So the next email he has is, this is again May 31st from Todd Helms to Ellen with regard to the same Santanella issue that he keeps bringing up. And he says, please note the BAA granted the taxpayers appeal that 130 trailers, so now it's grown. So maybe it's like rabbits. So now they got 130 trailers registered in Maine. The BAA removed all 3 years of tax bills for them. That's a loss of nearly $200,000. Now I'm going to tell you how he ended up with these people and going after them was, he, Todd Helms, went to their farm, which is on the border of Enfield and Summers. This is the Antonacci's, and they have horses. And so, and I confirmed this, we have permission to talk about this from their lawyer. And so he told me I could, and I want to get it exactly right. He said that all of a sudden one day, they find Todd Helms in a stable where there's horses and there's trainers. And in the horses and trainers He identifies himself as tax assessor, and he's here to inspect the property. These guys don't speak English, so fortunately, though, it's on cameras, so the Antonacci's see it from their home base, and they end up either going over or having somebody go over to confront him and say, what are you doing here? They're concerned about the safety of their trainers now, because the horses are skittish. They're concerned about his safety, and they're concerned about their horses. So they tell him, get out of here and make an appointment or something. And once you do that, then he gets angry. So what he did is, he then removed a lot of their 490 designation, reclassified their land, and increased their value on that. But here's what else he did. He then went and found this 130 or 120 trailers that are owned by the Antonacci's, and they're registered in Maine, and they're not here in Enfield. But what he did is punish them to now hit them with that tax bill. The third thing he did is he went to a solar carport that they have in on Mullen Road, the solar carport that at their business, and he then revoked their solar exemption and instead left them with another, might have been $900,000 extra tax bill or something like that. So when they came to us, they had all sorts of proof with regard to the their solar carports as well as the other stuff, and so we granted them relief. And this is one of the things that's in the report, as though the BAA really screwed up here, because we shouldn't have given them the solar carports. They had the solar carports. This guy took them from them. We merely unscrewed them. So they got their solar carports back. And but yet we're criticizing this report based upon that. So let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go away from it slightly, but just to keep moving. So page 51 talks about how what Helms did, and he's reporting this to Mario about motor vehicle with VIN code. And so the reason that a lot of your vehicles went up this year by about 30% is because it's actually 28.6% according to him. He said that he instituted a new code here program called VIN code in 2021, whereas the predecessor didn't use this program. This program comes from some assessors statewide that use it, and it takes down average cost of vehicles, so on and so forth. And then he says that this number that he got is a good indication of the value, in other words, the tax dollars increase realized by him using this new technology. But he ends up by saying, and this is to Mario, it is confusing, and I hope I've explained it enough to muddle through, but the yellow highlighted cells at the bottom are the estimated tax dollar increase. So everything he does is, no, I shouldn't say everything, I take that back. But it is, we found significant evidence of more manipulation of numbers to artificially increase grand lists or people's values so that the town gets more tax dollars without raising the mill rate. Okay, now, this next part, I just got to read, because it's amazing. So now Todd is being asked, this is more excerpts, begins at page 54 of our handout. And it says, this is from Mary Coppola. For the BAA hearings that you attended, what were your observations? So Helms says, well, they were handled very unprofessionally. I don't recall anybody even being sworn in. Now, I think a lot of people here were there for hearings last year. Was anybody not sworn in? I mean, this guy tape recorded it, and he still doesn't know we're sworn in. The only one that wasn't sworn in is him. So anyway, he then goes on and saying that there was no flag in the room, and they didn't even do a Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, to what? An empty hall? Amazing. Then he talks about, Coppola says, well, let me give you another homework assignment. The reason I keep telling you this is the collaboration that's been going on with all these people is astounding. So Coppola, let me give you another homework assignment. You give this to Vicky, by the way, too. And then he says, I want to see all the public notices. This is Coppola now. I want to see public notices, agendas, minutes, meetings, public notices. I want it for all of them. Matt, let me ask you something. You've gone through this. Did you see any of these records? Are they any place? And then the guy says, yeah, we talked about that with Ellen. Oh, okay, so Ellen's got them? No, they're online. And then he goes on. And then Todd says, this report that we did, he claims, Tom states in his manifesto, so he calls our report a manifesto, that in the deliberation, they took notes, and I don't see where their notes are, and they shared stuff between them. So now he gets back to, can you tell me what your observations were about the BAA? They didn't follow the rules, very unprofessional. Then, here's going to get to the best part. So he says that some of the questions, they're leading from Tom. I mean, I basically sat behind Tom for the most part, and they were certainly questions to the taxpayers. I mean, they can do what they want, but it just seemed very unprofessional to hear the facts and what the person wanted. So I know he screamed at me at one of those meetings. He screamed, he is me. Okay, so he screamed at me at one of those meetings. I mean, it wasn't the taxes hearings, but one of their special meetings. I mean, he literally, I think he actually just got out of his chair and just screamed at me to shut the hell up. So Coppola said, oh, so tell me about that. What happened there? Well, so one of the first meetings I was there, and it wasn't one of the ones being recorded because we weren't thinking about that at the time. And he asked somebody a question, and I just had knowledge of it and stuff and everything. So I started to speak up, and he just, I believe he rose up out of his chair. Well, he might not have. But I mean, basically, I started to say something in a public hearing. I mean, I wasn't, well, you know, I didn't have the floor or whatever. But I probably shouldn't have said, well, he just basically just screamed at me, shut up, shut the hell up. I don't want to hear anything more from you. I'm done with you. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. So Coppola says, what did you say? I believe it was just, you know, some of my staff members, you know, she was asking me something about stuff, and it was because Vicky couldn't do the secretary stuff because here at a portion, and they were asking something, you know, with somebody else, and I started to say, and we have a part-time girl, and so then the guy's like trying to get up to, you know, what did you say? So, and then Helms says that Belinda was at the meeting. So Coppola says, okay, so Steve Belinda was at the meeting, okay, and how did you respond to his request for you to shut the hell up? Helms, I shut the hell up. You can't make this up. You can't. So I didn't write this for him, though. I just want you to know I didn't do it. But, so then Belinda, he says, well, did Mr. Belinda have any comment about when you were done? Well, he wasn't there. They already told the guy he was there. Now he's not there. I mean, he was not in the meeting. So Coppola, well, did you have any discussion with Mr. Tyler after the meeting to confront him with regard to his interaction with you at that meeting? I did not. Well, aside from not confronting him or in person, I guess, or on the phone, did you like send him an email or in any way document what happened? I did not. Okay, so anyway, so you said Tyler was asking leading questions. Yeah, he was asking questions about valuation. Have you ever heard anything like this before? I mean, so now he says, it's getting too long, but it's okay. So and then he goes, one of his biggest statements was, and he always said this just about every hearing to everybody, he said, which is fine, he said, well, listen, you're the owner of the property. Courts have decided, you know, if you own the property, you have a legal right that you know what the property's worth, which I believe is accurate. I mean, I believe the courts have stated that, you know, if you're the owner of property, you can certainly state what you think your opinion is of the value, but it certainly doesn't make you an expert. So that's his observations of our meetings. So then I do have